Hey, what's up, Boxers? This is Zach Rosette with Buildbox. Happy Halloween to everybody. I got another free 3D game for you here, and in this video, I'm going to show you how I created this really cool main character, which is very much like the Phases character that was released by Ketchup and Buildbox a couple years ago. And I'm going to show you how I created this character where you can touch on either side of the screen and move the character back and forth. And then at the end of this video, I'm going to build out a few scenes, and then I'm going to give you this BB doc for you to try out and build it out yourself. So let's go ahead and get started. So the bulk of the logic is here in the main character. So when we're done with this video and you've got the BB doc, I highly recommend right-clicking this main character and exporting this asset so that you can use this character for other games, and you can use the nodes in here for other characters as well, because there's a few things in here that you'll be able to use for other characters and it'll be useful. So I'm going to just walk through my favorite parts of this character, and there's a couple nodes in here that I actually got from the Buildbox forum from another Buildbox member. And so I actually want to pull up the forum here and just show you this post. So this thread is called Actor Explosion BB Asset, and this was first started by Particles, who's a boxer here on the forum, and he gave a couple really great nodes that can be used, or a couple great assets with some nodes in them. There's the Actor Explosion, Camera Shake, and you can see that this is just a really awesome community here sharing different ideas. And if you scroll down here, you can see another boxer actually built off of the Actor Explosion with debris, and he created an option to delete the debris after a period of time. And so this is what's really cool about the Buildbox community, is they're helping each other out, they're creating new ideas and building off of them and sharing them with each other. And this is how we're all going to get better at game development, is doing this. So if you're not on the forum and helping each other out and working with other boxers, then you're really missing out, and I highly recommend it. So I'm going to get off of this forum, but definitely check it out. There's some really cool things that people are posting there, and it's handy. And so the two nodes that I use from those assets that I got from that forum thread are the trail effect and explosion. Those were my favorite. I really like the way this trail effect works and looks. And so any of you can use this now. You just go ahead and export the asset, and you can use this trail effect and copy it over easily to another character or another node map. And the explosion also looks great. It's a great defeated animation. I'll go ahead and I'll press play right here, and I'll show you what this looks like. So I'm going to press on the right side of the screen, and then check out this explosion. It looks really clean. I love the way that looks. And so I'll go ahead and I'll exit out of this preview now. But think about using this. You don't have to just use spheres either. You can use cubes, you can use whatever shapes. The way you work this is you put in the asset name of the object that you want to become debris. So I have this round debris asset over here, and so I just create this little mini sphere, and so then when the character explodes, it's using that round debris for the shatter effect. And when you look at the code here, there's just a bunch of really useful techniques and little things that you can use in here, and so please feel free to use this code to create other really cool and useful assets. This is kind of what I did with the touch move node. So I took this touch move node and I looked at the logic behind it, I looked at the code, and I thought to myself, okay, I want to make a game like Phases, where I click on the right side of the screen, it moves to the right, I click on the left side of the screen, it moves to the left, but when I'm not clicking, it just goes up and down, just like Phases. And so I thought, okay, I can take this touch move node and I could rewrite some of this code and make it work for my game. So I'm going to delete this touch move node right now, and I'm going to show you touch sides and kind of walk you through it a little bit here and explain how I converted that node to work for my needs. Okay, so let's open up this code here. Let's crack this thing open and take a closer look at this. I'll break it down here for you. So first off, we've got our variables up at the top. I created two variables, right speed and left speed. And it's as easy as just adding in an attribute, and then I know that I need to have an X, Y, and Z coordinate for this. So I chose vector 3D. And you can see I have a new attribute created here. And then I set that variable I created up here at the top, I set it to this attribute, and I set it to the attribute over here, and you can change the title, and then you just put the title of the attribute over here, and you're good to go. So I'm going to exit out of this little guy right now, and then let's take a look at the update function. Okay, so first off, we have the physics here set to this entity's physics, so that's a big one. So we have the variable physics set to that, and then we take this other temporary variable That's what the let does, is it creates the variable inside the function. And so they let velocity equal the physics and the linear velocity, the linear velocity of that physics object. Okay, and so the next thing we look at is the move direction. So I'm asking myself here, am I touching the right side of the screen or am I touching the left side of the screen? And so this is checked here at the touch began function. It says here, this move point. And so it's going to take this point, it's going to check where you're touching, it's going to set that to the point, and then you're checking here in the function move, you're sending in that point, and you're checking the width of the whole system, which I've taken from the Buildbox API. So definitely I'll include the link to the API here. So this is the API reference I used, and I just used the let width equals system.screensize.x. And so that will give you the entire width of the screen, so you can split it in half. So we're checking the point and we're checking the width. If the point is less than half of the width, or the left side, then it's going to move in the -1 direction. That you're going to have the move direction be set to -1, which is going to be going to the left. If you touch the point and it's on the right side, if it's greater than half the width of the screen, then the move direction is set to +1. And so you check here, you see what is the value of move direction. Is it +1? Is it -1? Or is it 0? So if it is +1, if it's greater than 0, then you're using the right speed as the velocity.x. And so you're taking this 8 here from the right speed attribute and you're moving it now to the right. Or if the direction is less than 0, the move direction is set to -1 because you're touching the left side of the screen, then you're going to set the velocity in the x direction to the left speed variable, which is over here on that attribute. And then of course, if the move direction is actually equal to 0, then you keep the velocity at 0. You don't move left or right. And so that's what keeps it bouncing up and down, up and down. And then finally, you set the physics, you set the linear velocity to the velocity x, y, and z direction, in which you have fixed here. You've already fixed your velocity in the x direction with these if loops. So this is a really, really nice node here that people can use. Using the functions touch began, touch move, touch ended, that's also super, super useful. When you're at the touch ended function, you set the move direction to 0, and that's how you run into this else-if statement where the move direction is actually equal to 0 and you keep the velocity at 0. So there's one more node that I wanted to go over a little bit of the code, and it's this special jump that I created because I was running into problems where I was bouncing on objects at an angle and it wasn't bouncing straight up and down like the original phases, and I wanted this to be as much of a remake of phases as possible. I wanted to do a phases remix. So let's go over the special jump code now. Okay, so let's crack open this special jump node here, and then once we're done looking at this code, I'm going to go ahead and do a hyperlapse sped up development. I'm going to build out a few levels, and then I'm going to give you this BB doc so that you can make your own unique game and you can use the document however you like. So this one's actually pretty simple, and I kind of overcomplicated it when I first created it. I wrote this extra code and I was trying to figure it out, and then I got a little help from Nick Rudenko, our amazing CTO and coding master, and he helped me make it a little bit more elegant and a little bit more efficient. So the main thing with this one is that you're setting the physics, or you're setting the linear velocity of the physics object that you're working with. You're making sure to set the x and z velocity to 0 at all times, so that it's not bouncing to the left or to the right or inwards or outwards when it comes in contact with another object. So you just have the jump force set to whatever you like. You set it to the attribute over here on the right. You just got to make sure that you don't set the linear velocity in the x direction and in the z direction to vel.x and vel.z, because then whatever velocity it's got going in the x or z direction, when it lands on another object, it's going to continue with that force. So you want to set it to 0 no matter what, and then you're good to go. So I'm going to go ahead now and move forward, and I'm going to start developing out this game, and I'm going to build out a few levels, and then it is totally free for you all to use. Alright, so this is the finished product. So I've got a couple keyboard controls here. I set up a few scenes, and I hope you enjoy this. I'm going to have the download link to this BB doc in the description of the video below, and I hope you thought this video was useful. As always, keep on boxing.